saw this cute cover, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, it's time. It's time that I go back and I finish this damn story. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Chelsea and you're watching Chelsea Sang. And today we are doing my July. Today we're doing my June reading logs. Here we go. Dead Demons, Destruction, and I read volumes 1 and 2. Honestly, I had no idea what I was going into when I started this. We're introduced to these group of high school girls, they're friends, and they're all characters. We'll say that. After we meet these girls, there is this very strange incident that happens, and the world kind of stops. It's kind of like the world is ending a little bit, and honestly there are some parts of it that were a little bit too familiar, and then you immediately have a time skip where it becomes like this big event that everybody is kind of like trying to find their new normal after like whole family members and like people have disappeared and stuff like that. Like the normalcy kind of ends like just before it's time to end their summer vacation and go back to school, and one of them chose not to do her homework the entire summer, and then the whole incident happens and it's like, oh look at that, now it doesn't matter if she has to do her homework or not, you know. It's just like they're really small, like in a lot of incidents in here that really makes you stop and think like, huh, there are a lot of things that we do in everyday life that really are like just like inconsequential, you know, in the general scheme of things, especially when like, you know, the world's on fire. Watakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku, Volume 6. So like it's bittersweet for me because I thoroughly enjoyed this. I remember when I got my very first volume of this, it was right at the beginning of where I seriously started like actually collecting more. So like I'm really sad to see this go, but we, you know, I mean, it's a nice end. I think this series overall had like an interesting ride where like the characters were also like kind of going through the pandemic with everybody else at the same time too. It's actually really meta in that way, and I think that also added another layer to it too, because like the whole point of it is otakus trying to live life and like kind of trying to find ways to either completely separate or to blend their obsessions with their actual like adult lives, you know, and finding love in the process of all of that. So like thoroughly enjoyed this. I think it was a good wrap up. I honestly could have seen a lot more. I felt like the introduction of the last couple was kind of rushed. Although it wasn't their main story, they were really just like side characters when it comes down to it. But I feel like I would have loved to see them grow as well, as much as we got to see our other 4 main characters grow throughout the series. For this couple in particular is like the most serious incident or argument, fight, actual like issue they have had to actually take time to figure out how to resolve. That simply like openly communicating like they have been throughout the entire thing just like wasn't enough. They had to deal with their own shit to kind of be able to come back together and like figure out how to kind of you know go through. It was an interesting look into actually like otaku from Japan, you know, like because I know what it's like for people who live outside of Japan, you know, but like it was an interesting look to see like them kind of reflecting their own world to us a little bit. All the meta references were great. All the ones that I didn't know, the editor's notes also were like fantastic. An extra, you know, add-on to that made like actually purchasing and having physical copies like worth it for me. I learned a lot. I sympathize with a lot, and I generally enjoy and highly recommend this series. I'm super sad to see it go. Truly bittersweet, truly couples goals all around with every single couple in this thing. Very, very wholesome, honestly. Like, I'm here for it. Yeah, we have Children of the Whales. I started volumes 1 and 2. So this is a pretty, not what I was expecting, honestly. Kind of not. So it's about these people that live on this floating, I guess, country. This country that's kind of floating on sand, a sea of sand, and it's called the Mud Whale, and there are magical people who live short lives, and then normal people who live really long lives, and it's just about them trying to exist. And then how that changes when they discover another island, which they thought was abandoned, but they actually find like a girl on it who kind of like opens up their entire world for them, and everything is being seen through the eyes of this guy who's like a scribe, I guess, who's been writing down keeping diaries of everything that's been happening, which will be basically like kind of recording their histories. So far so good. I'm gonna keep reading and see what happens. Children of the Whales. I finally read the final volume of Sweat and Soap because I had to just like stop kidding myself. Like, it is over, and it was just time for me to admit it. So I am very happy with this. I honestly, going in, thought that it was just gonna be their wedding and then like that's it, but I love that we got to see some life after, you know. I always enjoy that. Our male lead was thoroughly creepy in the beginning, but I think it was a good enough point to kind of draw readers in, and it really became a very sweet, very wholesome story really quickly. And I love where 2 characters ended up, the growth, the journey. It was all very worth it, and I highly recommend this to anybody who's never read Sweat and Soap. It's so good. It is so good. Oh my gosh. Kaiju number 8, volume 3. We actually get to focus a little bit on Captain Hoshina, Vice Captain Hoshina, who is a badass. Like, who knew? Okay, I knew. Like, from the time like you're introduced to him and you really get to like really see him in volume 2, you're just like, you know, something's up with that guy. Like, he's packing something, you know. And then you thoroughly get to see what that is right here, okay? Because he not only faces off with Kafka, Kaiju number 8, you know, in a little battle, but like towards the end, like you really get to see him, like, you know, like which is nice. So like there wasn't really much development in terms of the story in this volume, but we did get to see a lot more in terms of our characters and just like who they are, our team. We get to see them like complete their first mission, and just to see them, you know, all survive and kind of grow and see where they need to improve and whatnot. And we finally get Kafka graduating to from cadet, which is awesome. Honestly, I thought that they would drag it out just a little bit more. I really did, just for shits and giggles, you know. But yeah, so no, our cadet is no more in this volume, which is great. But I am really looking forward to figuring out a little bit more as to like what's happening with the Kaiju, because they're obviously not behaving like how they normally are. So like something's gonna go down, you know. And then the newly designated Kaiju number 9, who is this this mysterious one that we've been trying to figure out like what he's been up to since volume 2. Something's going on, and now there's a new player on the board, you know. So there's a lot like kind of being thrown out here that like we haven't begun to see like what or why yet, but it's coming, and I'm looking forward to it. It's still holding me. So we finished Something's Wrong With Us volume 8. So this is the turning point volume where After volume 7, there was a time skip and a whole lot of things that went down. So we're finally like, there's been some time since the fire from the last volume, and we have our main characters have had some time apart. They both now have individual goals that they're trying to accomplish. Honestly, I really hate when there are like these really long skips and you spend the first half of the series kind of like seeing everything from their perspective, and then you're suddenly shut out when you have to try and figure out, okay, where are we picking up from? You know, like what's happening here. So we are basically trying to like spend volume 8 getting filled in with what's been happening throughout this time skip and just like how things are now. And I think this is kind of like building up for volume 9. So I'm looking forward to see what happens with that. Something's wrong with Tsubaki, heaven forbid. And now has a new found mission, now that she knows who she is and like what's going down, you know. So like our goals have changed, and it is gonna be interesting to see how those goals are affected when they are reunited again. So okay, so I finally read volume 2 of Ryuko, and you know how I said in my last reading log that volume 1 was mad confusing and I had no idea what was going on? Literally all of those questions were answered in volume 2. Like in everything that I was so confused about is literally explained to me right here in this page that says previously. Oh my goodness. So all of the little snippets and pieces of stories that are just kind of like thrown at you in volume 1 get answered here. And I'm pleased. I am satisfied with how like volume 2 just really fills in all the blanks. So I don't know if if it's that I'm gotten used to the art style, or if volume 2 is just a little bit calmer. And I kind of feel like it's like that on purpose, just a little bit. But it is beautiful artwork. It truly is. The artist to Eldo Yoshimizu like put his foot in this. Like they really put their foot in this for just like how beautiful all of this stuff is. And so we finally get to see all our characters, like who they are, how they fit into the story, where the answers, and what the point of this whole thing is, right? And I'm not gonna spoil any of it at all, but it was a very good read. I would love to see this animated. I actually didn't look up to see if it was. Like, I would watch this. This would be like a really nice movie, truly. It is a 2-volume series, so there's only so much you can really cram in there. But I highly recommend Ryuko. It is a badass, like hard-boiled kind of crime story with lots of strong female characters. Volume 2 really like solidified my like for this, so I highly recommend this if you haven't checked it out. So I finally decided that it was time that I pick back up on Perfect World. So I kind of paused like towards the end of volume 6, and after our characters decided that they needed a break, I also needed some time, and then a few months to a year passed, and now that the final volume 12 came out, I'm not really gonna like touch on everything, but just like overall, I'm very happy with where the story ended up. I think the journey of growth that each of our characters went on. What I can appreciate with this is that even down to the side characters, they all had like a sense of closure. so I really enjoyed that. I love how our main leads really grew to, I'm gonna say they grew into their relationship, if that makes sense. Like they were able to be like their true, I'm gonna like selves with each other, with all the shortcomings, with honesty and open communication and all of that. Like, you know, truly, you know what, I'm gonna say this month I truly had the trifecta of like wholesome like, hold on, wholesome like relationship, like true relationship goals, like for real, like Alright, okay, so I'm probably gonna do a more in-depth video on this and why it is so amazing and why you really need to pick this up if you haven't. But I can truly honestly say that it was a perfect ending to a beautiful story. I'll put it there. Sign of Affection Volume 5. There you go. Oshi. So we have Itsumi confronting Oshi at the end of Volume 4, and you know, you think it's gonna be a thing, but it's him just like truly just trying to completely embed himself into this girl's, into Yuki's world, and that one step to doing that is to get to know one of her only friends, even though he can obviously see that Oshi is completely in love with Yuki. He decides to kind of like, I'm not gonna say mark his territory, but like show his cards, like put all his cards on the table with Oshi, and I think it's done in a very smart and respectful way that you don't quite see a lot. I love that it did not go at all in the way that you assume it's gonna go at the end of Volume 4, and honestly I can truly like add this to my wholesome list with the rest of that I can add this to my whole, well, you know what, we'll see, we'll have to see. I'm gonna wait till I get to the end before I decide that, because I really don't know where this is going. You know, sometimes when things are too sweet you get sick, okay? So we'll see. We shall see. But yeah, Yuki starts her part-time job, Itsumi's getting to know her friends, lots of things happening here in Volume 5, and I'm truly just happy with how it ends up, with like Oshi kind of like coming to terms with their relationship just a little bit, and willing to just kind of like wait and watch and see, you know, which is kind of what we're all doing too. So Sign of Affection Volume 5. So that has been my list so far. I might have another one of these soon, or just like read to the end of July, and because my stack is growing, it truly is. But yeah, I'm getting into more stuff. I'm gonna try and read a lot more and do another reading log really soon. But thank you for watching. If you're still here, my goodness, thank you. But I'll see you in the next one. Look, this says it all. This says it all.